Sunlight is the main source of energy for most plants. Plants are autotrophs and create their own food through a process called photosynthesis. This process needs sunlight. Thus, factors such as day length and sunlight intensity are crucial for plant growth. Soil is the most common medium for plant growth. Different plants need different compositions of soil, because the composition of soil determines water retention capacity, air retention capacity, and determines which nutrients are in the soil. Thus, different types of plants need different types of soil in order to survive and in order to reproduce. Different types of plants require different amounts of water in order to survive. Too much water can lead to the roots of plants rotting, which stops them from being able to suck up enough water in order to transport the minerals and nutrients that they need. Secondly, some plants require water for reproduction. Wind direction and velocity have a significant influence on plant growth and reproduction. Winds that are too strong, of course, can rip plants straight out of the ground. Secondly, many plants use wind in order to disperse their seeds or spores in order for reproduction. Temperature has a major influence on plant growth and reproduction. Very hot weather leads to plants losing too much water through the surface of their leaves through evaporation. The process is called transpiration. Sexual reproduction involves two parents and results in offspring that is genetically different to the parents. Sexual reproduction introduces variance into a population, makes it easier for plants to adapt to changing environments, and makes it harder for disease to wipe out a whole population. However, it does require more time and energy and makes it impossible for an isolated plant to reproduce. Asexual reproduction is reproduction in which male and female gametes do not fuse. In other words, there is only one parent, and thus only one source for genetic information. However, because the plants have exactly the same genetic information as their parents, any defects or other issues are passed down to every single child plant. Bryophytes, or mosses, can be found in cool, moist, and shady places. They do not have true roots, stems, leaves, or vascular tissue. They are not well adapted for life on land and usually grow around water. Mosses reproduce both sexually and asexually. To reproduce sexually, spores that are housed in a brown capsule on top of the moss are released. These spores then fertilize the female eggs, leading to the production of new plants. Pteridophytes, or ferns, live in mostly moist and shady areas. They have stems, roots, and compound leaves. The roots anchor the plant in the soil, but also absorb water and vital minerals and salts. These nutrients are then transported throughout the plant through a xylem and phloem. Ferns reproduce sexually. Firstly, spores are released into the air. If they land in an area suitable for growth, they will grow into what is called a gametophyte. Gymnosperms can live in many different types of areas. Many have adapted to live in the cold, in windy areas, in dry areas, and even sandy areas. They are normally large trees, which have very well-developed root systems that anchor the plants into the ground. Because gymnosperms often live in dry areas, the leaves are coated in a waxy layer which prevents water loss. Gymnosperms reproduce sexually. Firstly, female gametes are produced in ovulate cones, while male gametes are produced in pollen cones and develop into pollen grains. Fertilization occurs when pollen grains reach the female ovule and germinate. Gymnosperms do not require water for reproduction or fertilization, nor do most species need any special conditions. Angiosperms are flowering plants that have stems, flowers, leaves, fruits, seeds, and true roots. They also have a very well-developed vascular system. Angiosperms exist in two groups, dicots and monocots. Angiosperms reproduce sexually, and eggs are fertilized through pollination. This flower lacks sepals, although the petals are visible all around the flower. The flower's stamens can be seen here. The long stem-like structure is the filament, and it holds up the anther, which contains the pollen that is then spread by either insects or by the wind. However, this flower lacks a stigma and style. This is the ovary. Inside the ovary, you can see the ovules, as seen here.